You were in China when you were very young, and then you went back to Finland. As I want you to share with our viewers your experience, and you have been basically come back to China and then to Finland quite frequently.
Yes, very, very happy to be on the show today. And in my experience, I came to China for the first time when I was 4 years old. And to be honest, I didn't have any expectations. I didn't know what I was going to be seeing or knowing. And then then I went back to Finland when I was about 10. And then I came back during university. So I spent 1 year in Beijing during university. And then I came back as an adult to work in China. So I've had 3 experiences at very different ages in China. And it's been very exciting because China's changed so much from when I was 4 years old, and it's been really nice. But every time I come back, it's always exciting to see all the changes. And of course, for me, it's a little bit different than maybe for most foreigners. I come back to China. When I come back, I feel like I'm coming home.
So you see, yeah, you feel at home, but also you see different changes, right? Every time you come back to China.
Yes, very much so. When I came to university at the age of 20 for an exchange year, I was very shocked and surprised of how different it was. First of all, I had only been in the south of China, and then I came to Beijing, which was completely different. And as an adult already at that time, it was also very drastic changes in many different things from what I remembered when I was about 10 years old. So the speed at which China has progressed, and then after that, when I came back to work to China, it was yet a complete different change again, because I went to yet another part. So I've lived at 3 different points of my life in China in 3 very different kinds of areas in China. So they're all very different, and it's been such a shock to see the changes. And even after I moved back to Finland, and when I come back to China, like suddenly some building has shown up. Even I came a year ago and there was an empty plot, and suddenly now there's this big shopping mall. So the speed at which China is progressing is just amazing.
Yeah, it's always changing. Probably that's impressive, I guess, for a lot of people. Simon, I mean, you are from the UK, and share with us, when was your first time to be in China, and anything impressive, like your impression of China before you came, and then the real China. How different is that?
Okay. First of all, thank you very much indeed for allowing me the opportunity to be on the show. It's an absolute pleasure. Yeah, I come from England, and my first time to China was in 1998. So for me, it's a long time ago, and my love affair started with China the moment that I stepped foot onto this wonderful country. I was 27 years of age at that point. I didn't know what to expect. I came with complete innocence in my mind, just only heard about China, so I didn't know what to expect, and it surprised me, it shocked me to what I witnessed. I loved instantly what China was about and what it represented, because I came for business, and I could see and I could smell literally the potential with China. And then if we slowly move forward, all these years later, what I say to people is that, people ask me often about what's my feelings and my attitude towards China and how much it's changed. And I say, literally, it's non-comparable. You cannot compare 1998 to modern day China. I can't say that I'm coming to another country. I almost feel like I'm coming to another planet. It's changed so much in relation to how modern it has become, how amazing. I mean, I always had a love affair with China, so I always loved everything about China, the culture, the people, the food, the life. But now it is so high-tech, so modern, so easy to get around and to navigate. If we rock back to the early days when I was in Guangzhou and I had an office down there, the metro was only just being built at that point, and so to get around, I used to have to navigate by using taxi. Absolutely everywhere I was getting around by taxi. But now it's just so ridiculously convenient, for me. And personally, I absolutely love it. Then you've got the payment system where everybody can use your phones or your palm of your hand or face recognition. So for me personally, I absolutely love my life in China, and what I've witnessed over the last 27 years is nothing short of a miracle, really, in my honest, humble opinion.
Right, convenience. So, Rick, I mean, you are in the business, you are in journalism, and you have different angles. I mean, China is different. I often, share my understanding with people is like China is different from just like any other country, which is different. Every country is unique in a sense. Share with us your observation over the years.
So I have a different perspective because I first came to China in 2013. I mean, when I first met with people who had been in the Clinton State Department or reporters who had been here before 2000, they were talking about riding bikes in front of Tiananmen Square. They had talked about the old China. That was all gone. China was the second largest economy in the world. China already was moving into the digital age. So for me, I see China differently. China already was a great power. And for me, what I see is the difference in the last decade. You have completely a digital future. You have artificial intelligence. You have massive changes in the 13 years since I've been here. And I visited all but 3 provinces of China. I mean, I love travel, and I've been all over China, from Dongbei to Xinjiang, from Hainan, from Hainan to Gansu.
Well, that's
and the
something.
tourist infrastructure.
Yeah.
I mean, the tourist infrastructure is massive. I mean, starting around 2014, the government invested greatly. Mostly it was for domestic tourism because, of course, with 1.4 billion people, that's where you make the money and that's where you get non-polluting economic development. But it also helps for international tourism, and it certainly helped me. I mean, there's been a massive change, and it's much more user-friendly for tourists wherever you go. I mean, and I get reverse culture shock when I go back to the United States because I'm so used to paying for things without money. I'm so used to pulling out Alipay or WeChat, and using a credit card seems quaint. I mean, I remember going to the European Union in the 1980s and paying for groceries with credit cards when you had to pay with cash or a check in the United States, when the United States was behind the times. Now I come back to the United States and I feel like I'm behind the times because I still have to pay with a credit card. I can't use my Alipay or my WeChat. And so I see the future in China. I look at the electric cars, and in the United States, Donald Trump is ending subsidies, and people are saying, well, there's not really climate change. And I've seen the future in China. Now, that's not to say that everything is wonderful in China or the economy is wonderful in China, but I really see a lot of things that are fascinating and have become part of my life, and that is exciting.
Right. So Rebecca, anything, I think Rick referred to, his experience of so-called reverse culture shock. That's also what people are talking about, like a post-China culture shock or even post-China blues. Do you feel any kind of a similar experience, like back in China or back in Finland?
Oh, definitely. For me, everybody always talks about how China is so convenient. Life in China is so easy, and I use all the Chinese apps. I mean, I have everything from Samsung to Didi to 大众点评. I use all the possible. But for my life, the biggest thing that I've always loved about China is people. And people and how rich the culture is. You have so many different ethnic minorities. You have such a rich culture, and the social life is so different from back home in Finland. People are very shy. It's not very easy to make friends in Finland. In China, I think that's one of the richest and the best things about having Chinese friends is, that honest and that real, life that brings to you. You have a very rich and full life in China. And that's one of the first things that really shocked me when I came back to Finland. a lot of people think that it's maybe food or something else that shocked me when I came back. It wasn't. It was just that people don't talk. People aren't so interested in making friends with you. You don't have that much social interaction because, Finnish people are shy or so cold, So it's so different from China. I came back, to be honest, to my home country, and I absolutely hated it. I came back and I thought, oh my goodness, I can't stay here. This is going to kill me. I honestly, I hate to say that about my home country, but when I came back, I was in such shock that I just wanted to take the next airplane back. And it wasn't, just convenience and everything. It was just the people. I just missed the people and the life. And those were the things that were really important to me in China and still are today.
Speak of the people, Simon. Wonder what's your understanding of the Chinese? In your interaction, engagement with the local people. Their views for their own country, views of people from other places, or views of the world, especially young people. What would you say about the Chinese young people, like Gen Z? Are they global enough? Cosmopolitan. Also, are they sticking to the traditional values, etc.?
That's a very interesting question relating to the younger generation. I think that the younger generation now, my attitude being a little bit older, is that we become a product of our environment, and China has moved on so fast. And the younger generation are really very fortunate in relation to what they are spoilt with the luxuries that are surrounding them. Compared to sort of like many years ago. So I believe that the younger generation are fully embracing the beauty and the quality that's on offer for them to the maximum. There's a few points that the guys were touching on there, especially Rebecca, in relation to the community, which is also relevant to the younger generation. And I echo the points completely what Rebecca was saying about when I went back to the UK. I class now China as home, which is, I don't know, it's a bit strange to say, but that's something within you. You can't express that to somebody, but that's how I feel. I feel like so at home. The community spirit, the people, even the younger generation, right the way through to the aunts and the uncles, and everybody is so warm and so welcoming to me. Yes, I am a very friendly person, and I do put myself out there. And yes, you do get the surprise factor again, following on from what Rebecca said about when you go back, the UK people are relatively quite conservative, and I'm not. I try to be expressive and I try to be outgoing, and then you're met head on with sort of like, I don't know, it's not negativity. I don't like to speak negative about anything in life, but it's just a bit of frustration that this country is so warm, so welcoming. The younger generation are moving on at such a rapid rate of knots in relation to the opportunities that the government is giving them, because the government has invested so much in relation to high-tech AI. And so the younger generation that are coming through are going to be the future of China, and what a future China has, or future China will have in the future, because the younger generation, because the government, it's kind of like a cycle, it's cyclical in relation to what's happening. So for me, in regards to the question, I just think the younger generation for me in China are just amazing. They're embracing the new opportunity, whilst the wonderful thing about China is the culture, the history, and even the younger generation are coming through, they still embrace everything that's representative of China, if you like.
Well, Rick, how do you say about the changes? Of course, when people talk about changes in China, people, it's easy to refer to the infrastructure construction, high-speed railway service there, and EV, high-tech growth, but also, softer aspects like, Labubu, and Naja, or Wukong, etc. It's deeply rooted in the Chinese culture, Chinese tradition, but also somehow it's modernized and getting popular, getting accepted by the young people, and also it spreads to overseas, other parts of the world. How do you characterize these changes of the change of China, the hard aspect, but also the soft aspect?
Well, I do think La Bubu is a good example, because I do see that in the United States and even in Finland when I was visiting Finland in September. You do see It's not quite like Disney, but you do see aspects of the Chinese culture in other parts of the world. I mean, I do think it's the beginning, sort of like the United States in the 1950s and 1960s. I think a lot of Chinese soft power is like the United States after the Second World War. And I think we're going to be seeing that. But sort of circling back to what you were saying and asking about the young people, I think some of the Chinese soft power it has to do with the young people all around China. When you go to the historical sites, you see them dressed in historical outfits, whether it's the Tang Dynasty, Qing Dynasty. I mean, you look and you see. And I was thinking, in the United States, I don't see young people dressed in Revolutionary War or Civil War outfits, and so in a way, I consider that soft power there, and in Korea when I saw young people dressed in the Korean, and I do think in both countries that is soft power. You're representing it to the outside world, to visitors who are there, and in social media. I mean, I think Chinese social media, I think Douyin and TikTok, I mean, for the world, are soft power, and Xiaohongshu, because it shows China in a very human way. Not the stereotypes. I mean, it is media, but it's new media, and it breaks through the stereotypes. And I think this is the beginning of soft power. Chinese soft power is not the equivalent of Hollywood. Chinese movies are not Hollywood movies. Chinese soft power is different, and I think that these are the kinds of examples, from Labubu to Xiaohongshu and Douyin are the first examples of Chinese soft power.
Yeah, that's right. Speak of the stereotypes, and Rebecca, I guess you guys must be aware of that. You know, people who are here for a while, they have often have a different understanding of what they received in their, let's say, news coverage, political narrative, etc. So, there is these differences, and a visa-free arrangement is helping probably to overcome that kind of a gap of information, let's say.
Well, definitely, because I don't think I've ever met anybody who's been in China who didn't like China. So being able to visit, and now it's very convenient because a lot of people think, oh, but the visa wasn't that expensive, so why didn't they come before when it wasn't visa free? Actually, for a lot of people who haven't applied for the Chinese visa, it's actually quite intimidating. It's about 10 pages long, the thing. So if you've never filled in this kind of application, it can be kind of scary. And in Finland, because the only way to get a visa was to come to Helsinki, maybe for a family of 4, it would mean train tickets, flights, living in a hotel in Helsinki to do the application process. So it'd be about €1,000 on top of your trip. So now when we don't have this, that obviously you'll be able to save that €1,000 and then you spend it in China to do what you want to do, which is obviously opening up a massive opportunity. And I think that people are genuinely intrigued. I once met an old Finnish man and he told me he didn't eat rice. And I thought he was not politically sensitive. And he told me no, because he thought that he should save the rice of the world for the Chinese people. And I thought that was the funniest thing I'd ever heard. But that was his, conception. And I told him, I said, oh, you don't need to worry about that. China is exporting. You don't have to worry about that. And it's true that a lot of people who maybe just follow traditional news, of course, nowadays traditional news is also extremely positive, because I've also watched, the media attention around, like the Finnish prime minister just visiting China, or the Finnish president who visited in 2024. Around that comes a lot of positive. They bring out a lot of positives. The president takes the high speed train. The prime minister goes to visit in the Forbidden City. The first lady went to the Great Wall. Through this all, they're also sharing a lot of positive things, and they show how China is so advanced, and how the system's working and everything. So it's the information is now coming out. But of course, a lot of ideas, maybe they're not that easy to change. So I think it's really wonderful what, Rick mentioned earlier also about, social media and giving that view, like on a person to person level. Because sometimes as normal people, when we watch the news, we feel that it doesn't have anything to do with us. So people watch it and it doesn't really connect with them. But then when they see these videos from normal life, and they see, actually, we're all people, and it's all the same, pretty much.
Right.
Families are families, and they take care of each other, and you see that, and then you feel a sense, and all these labubus and everything is, I think it's just a way of young people stepping out and saying, I think China's cool. I think that, embracing these things is an ordinary person's way to vote for China. Like, it's our maybe way of saying, hey, I don't care what comes out in the news. I don't care what is said. I know my neighbor is from China and he's really nice. And I think that anybody who's made friends with Chinese people, who's ever visited in China, feels completely different about China. And I think that's why this visa-free policy is extremely important. It gives the opportunity for the normal person, the ordinary man, to visit without a lot of stress. And I think it's going to be an exciting way. And people are going out there, they're sharing with their friends, and I think it's just it's one of the best things that's probably been done recently. One of the best policies that has come out, at least for us as ordinary people.
Right away. Simon, of course, there's a discussion or report of a possible visa-free treatment also for people from the UK, from the Chinese side. And, as Rebecca said, I know that, the Prime Minister Starmer's visit in China is a positive one, but I think partly because of, domestic politics, not that was not presented entirely positive in the UK. A lot of discussion over there. But anyway, people in China would say, yes, you have some understanding or misunderstanding, misperception, but if you are in China, talk to the Chinese people, experience some Chinese food, or visit some Chinese cities, probably you have a better idea. No country is perfect. I mean, I don't think Chinese people are looking forward to a perfect nation, but a real one probably. It's a life more or less the same as Rebecca says. We as human beings, family, friendship, love, job. So visa-free treatment and people to people. Or visit to China is critically important here for understanding, let's say.
Yeah, I mean, for me now, I think just to echo again from what Rebecca said, there's a point there to think about, and I didn't even think about it until it was actually mentioned. I rock back to all those years ago when I was coming over to China, and I can remember going down to the embassy in London and having to queue up the day before. The day before to queue up to get your visa to come, and it wasn't cheap at the time. And you would literally hope that you can get your visa sorted out. There was kind of like you was on a bit of a wing and a prayer in relation to whether you was going to be successful or not. Then you would hang around, and then you would hope that you would become successful, and you're still hanging around hoping that you're going to be successful. And the end of the day finally comes, and it's almost like you've got the winning lottery ticket because you've got your visa. And then you can go back home, and then a couple of days later you're going to be on your merry way over to China. Now, over the years, I had to personally endure the same thing, and I just conditioned myself because it's just a matter of cause, and that's what I was doing. However, like Rebecca says, there's a lot of people that potentially would see that as a little bit of a discouragement and wouldn't potentially want to do all those things. Then we go to where we're at right now, certainly from the UK perspective. The 10-day was a little bit tricky because you have to enter and exit via a third-party country. So it's a little bit tricky, and I have to explain it to a lot of people as far as like the visa is concerned. But now with the recent visit of our Prime Minister Starmer coming over and hopefully cementing better relations between the UK and China, not only are we going to be receiving the 30-day visa, but also China has been granted. It's going to have an embassy in London right next to the Tower Bridge. So very fortunate. Hopefully this is going to maintain and strengthen the relationship as far as China and UK is concerned. So exactly the point. I think if we can have now in the UK these 30-day, I mean, it's just incredible, really. It's going to give such a luxury to people to want to come over and visit China. There is no excuse. I get so many people, obviously through social media myself, making lots of videos. I have like an open phone, so people phone me up and I talk to a lot of people personally. And they personally are grateful for the words that I'm delivering through the power of social media, because through social media, and slowly but surely, we're breaking down the barriers and people are understanding that the beauty and the magnificence of China and the honesty of China and what it truly represents. It takes time, it takes perseverance, it takes the videos, and it takes real people like what we're talking about now to deliver the messages back home. And then the younger generation that can come over now, that can take advantage of the 30-day free visa, is only going to strengthen that situation. It's only going to make things and improve things, because the younger generation are the future. And so if the younger generation can go back and say, and it's happening so much now with the vloggers, they're going back and they're saying through the power of social media how amazing China is and the beauty and the everything that goes on in China. You have to come over, and it's changing the narrative. The narrative is definitely changing. The shift is happening. I can smell it, I can taste it, and I can feel it.
The shift is taking place. Rick, there's I think in recent months, actually, there's a kind of a trend, some people say a bit absurd, becoming Chinese for young people. They're practicing some of the Chinese traditional practices, like drinking hot water, wearing house slippers. It's like people are joking about that, but still, I think there's a curiosity probably behind that kind of a trend. We don't know how long it will last, but behind that, I think it's really about the rise of the country, the rise of the nation. If you look at the tech growth, right, AI, EV, renewable energy, overall economic growth and poverty alleviation, things like that. We mentioned about modernization, infrastructure, etc. So behind that is really about the development of the country, right?
Right. Well, there is a lot of curiosity. I don't think that hot water is going to take over in the United States yet. I don't think people are going to be asking for hot water instead of ice water at their tables. But I do think that there is some curiosity. People have asked me in the United States. But I think more seriously, a lot of people have asked about the electric vehicles. And especially because of the debates going on in the United States, and a lot of people have asked about AI. A lot of people have asked about robotics, I mean, these are important things. They know the advances that are going on in China. They know the debates that are going on in the United States. They know the importance of what is going on, and they're curious. And because of the debates that are going on in the United States, they want to know what's happening in China and the impact of what Donald Trump is doing in the United States in terms of what they see as a competition between the two great powers.
Yeah, hopefully more people will come and visit the country and to experience firsthand.
Well, see, and I do think that's the most important thing. The best thing that can happen for the relations between the two countries is person to person.
Yeah, on that note, we are coming to the end of today's show. Many thanks to our guests. You can also watch us on the CGTN app on YouTube. I'm Xu Qinduo. Thanks for being with us. See you next time.